17.
That pull something
I don't know. It's always live before you think it is. So I'll open the meeting at 6:32. Sorry about it being a couple of minutes late. Apologies, we have no apologies. Leave of absence, there is none. Confirmation of council minutes. 3. Recommendation that ordinary minutes of the ordinary council meeting held Wednesday, 19th February 2025 be taken as read and confirmed. I'll move it. Trevor, taking the loop. Got anything you want to say?
Just follow up on that, how'd you go that way with the question?
So in that, because of local events, and also with the outcome of the Pinaroo service, we agreed not to pursue that currently. Pinaroo was happy with their outcome, and out of reverence for Gary, I said we'll delay that for at least a month, and then we will send the letter to do with our issue, not to do with the station's issue. That one. So thank you. Anyone else? All those in favour? Against? Gary, thank you. So everyone's just 13. Opening remark. So I guess it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge that this is Mark's last official meeting. So I think I'd like to thank you for your efforts and patience and candour. It's been well received, and I think you've helped us immensely through this process, and we certainly won't lose your number. If you think you're retiring, have another good think. So yeah, thank you for that, and I think all the members would do the same, and hopefully the community as well. I think you've done a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And probably, yeah, just in reference to what Chris just asked there, was that we said in the last council meeting we're going to send a letter to SAS, to Minister Picton, about SAS, and some commitments that were made to us as a chamber. It was going to be also around some issues at the Pinaroo service that's been resolved, so now we will defer that letter for a bit of time, just to give an air gap to allow people to grieve and do what they need to do, and then we'll take it up properly. So I've already committed that to Sharon, so that she's aware of it in the system, so it won't get dropped off. It's still there as an issue. So and probably I would also say that, as reported to you guys earlier, we had a community meeting in the chamber from interested participants about Cruise Road, and the issues with the lock and chain being put on the gate, with some communications directly with the representative, the landowner, and now the landowner. To this point, the lock is still off, and as long as it stays off, I think everything will be sort of okay. But that's a continuing issue that we're dealing with, but it's not a motion through council, so it's more about just an update, I guess. So that's it for that. Nothing else for me. Declarations of conflict of interest. Does anyone have one?
I might have, I don't know, yet to be defined, but the Geranium Memorandum of Understanding, I'm on the committee of the Geranium Community Club. Oh, it's not affecting me directly, so I was asking the question really.
Yeah, my personal view is I don't think it does, but I'll leave that to.
So you're a member of a larger community with a large organisation.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a direct conflict, would be my view. However, I always preempt that by saying it's obviously your decision.
I don't think I've got a direct.
What you can also do is elect not to converse or vote on it, but just be in here when it's happening. You've got that choice as well. I don't see it as a contentious thing. It's more of a procedural thing, but thank you for raising that. I guess we'll go with the flow a bit. I don't think either of us feel like that's an egregious thing. Because you're not asking for something new. It's just I got it brought back on through a phone contact. So thank you. Anyone else?
So I got a conflict of interest with my wife giving a presentation. But
I don't think so. She's not seeking something. No, I don't believe so. You might get a conflict when she gets home.
More than the conflict.
So no, that's fine. Petitions, there are none. Deputations, there are none. Presentations, there is one. 8.1 Pinaroo Community Representative Caroline Michelle, Southern Valley website. So hand over to Caroline.
Yep. So yeah, I'm here on behalf of Pinaroo Community Inc. Firstly, I'm not much of a public speaker, and I will get nervous even though it's just you guys, but we would just like to say thank you on behalf of Penrith Community Inc. and Lamoureux Forward as well, for the funds that you gave us towards this project. The project was to create a Southern Mallee website for tourism for new and current residents to be able to find information on community groups, volunteer opportunities, things going on in the district, things like that. Your funds helped us to take this website to reality, which you can see it's now live. It has been live for a few months now. Your contribution went towards all the costs associated to setting up the website, so the hosting, the plan subscription, purchase of domain names, and the initial creation of the website as well. Any ongoing maintenance and upgrades, additions as needed. We originally just thought there was a gap in the information that you can find about all of the towns in the district, all the businesses that are part of the district. I would just like to preface this before I show you that a lot of this has come from just me, myself, and what I know about the district. So there will be missing businesses and missing community groups and things, but it's all part of the long-term plan to get it all up to date and make it as accurate as possible. So we've included all the towns, Geranium, Lamoureux, Perilla, Kinneroo, and we also included Murrayville as a border community because they share many services and sports teams and things with us. The whole website was created volunteer driven. We did look into getting it professionally made, and it's probably 5 to 10 grand to get it made, and then somebody would have still had to send through all the information, all the pictures, which turned out to be majority of the workload anyway. So I'll just see if I can show you through a bit of it anyway. If you've got any questions, just let me know. So this is the homepage. Access to the Eat, Stay, Explore events and community pages. Just a bit of a bit fancier, I guess. Try and attract people to the Mallee. There'll be seasonal features. Obviously, pool season at the moment. Down the line, it'll be something different once the pools close. Probably footy or something. All links to different pages, which I'll show you as I go through. Each town has their own page, which has information, again, which I'll show you in a sec.
Maybe Parachi as well.
Well, not much going
Not much going on.
Unless you want to buy something. But they do have a community event at the hall.
Yeah,
Model
that's
time,
coming
yeah.
up in April.
Yeah.
That'd be on the community events. Yeah.
Yeah, and border district events as well. I can include, yeah, and I can create a page if they really so want. Heard from anyone from Parachi?
Oh, someone give her the information, she might get it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Features of, big events, big things that happen. Obviously the new silo being painted soon. Was the main reason this website kind of started was an idea with Lamoureux Forward, because they wanted somewhere that the silo could be featured and have their own website page and stuff. So just featuring some, like these can be changed kind of regularly-ish, feature different parts of our communities that are good, and they all link to pages on each thing. Big events that are going to be happening, I put on the home page, and then there's a whole events calendar and everything. So that's pretty much the home page. Can all be changed fairly easily. So then we've got our feature pages. So yeah, again, not complete, but as people see the website, hopefully they'll add. But so eating in the Southern Mallee, you click on a town and it will take you to that town's offerings of where you can eat in the Southern Mallee, and each thing goes into their own little page. Where possible, I've put information. I've tried to keep information to a minimal so that it's not a massive job to keep it updated. Links to their Facebook, their Instagram, their website, if it so does exist. The stay page is pretty similar.
Shame,
And again, just places to stay in each town.
Nothing theory.
Yeah, plenty. And Yeah, so
Review.
How have you found the feedback from, like community groups and that to get their events and stuff on the calendar? Have they been
well,
reaching out
yeah,
to you, or is
so
that part of that
there
process?
is definitely a challenge involved in this. I mean, still lots of people don't know that it even exists, because I haven't really got around to the whole, I'm gonna do flyers and things and QR codes everywhere and things.
It doesn't need a link from the Southern Valley.
And yeah, so when I was working with Lachlan, I had a few emails backwards and forwards with Lachlan about once it was up and ready that we would link it to you guys and you guys would link it to us where your website was lacking and ours was doing better, or where ours was lacking and yours was obviously doing better and things.
So
So
you're still looking at adding to this thing still?
this is, yeah, this changes, this can change on the
Okay,
daily.
yeah, It's
if
live.
needed.
It's
It's,
live,
whenever you get
yeah,
time.
it's so
So
easy
if we want to
do.
put an event on there, we just,
Yeah,
can we
so
do it?
the events page, you can't do it specifically yourself. I would have to do it. I'm looking into a way
How do
that's
we
a
let you
bit
know?
easier currently. So there's an inquire here form on the events. There's one on the footer of the website as well, that you click in, you put your name and your email and just what you want added.
Right.
If I'm looking into a way where you can upload everything like your flyer and your name and all the details, and then I would just have to approve it. But at the minute, it is a little bit manual. It's just trying to find the right thing that will work long term, I guess, because I'm also not in the know of every single event that goes on in the district. So if people are posting in the community groups, I'm looking and I'm adding them. But yeah, it's not a full list of absolutely everything that's going on, but there
But
is,
the community should be putting it forward, like.
Well, yeah,
Shouldn't be sourcing
yeah,
it out. If it's gonna
exactly.
work,
And I
community
think once
should be-
once more people know about the
Okay.
website and know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it exists and start to use it, they'll think,
So that-
oh, yeah,
That-
I better
that
send it
might
through to
happen.
that. And I think there's like, you can view by month. I think it's good to see for people who are
Nice.
planning to do an event,
Yeah,
what events are already
yeah,
on,
yeah,
what's
yeah,
going
yeah,
on,
yeah.
and put
True.
local footy games and things in there as well, so.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever looked at your events calendar on your website, but it only has the
It's a
council
bit
meetings.
lacking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the council meetings are the only thing.
So the links from Lamoureux Ford and Pinaroo, what are they called?
Community,
Community,
this was community, not project.
Community, yeah,
community Pinaroo project then.
Penrith community.
Okay, well, there's Pinaroo project as well, that's do stuff.
yeah, so then.
Are
we-
they on there?
Yeah, so we've got a community section, which has got community groups. Sorry, Dream's really bad, because I don't know any community groups in Dream.
So how long's this been going for?
Well, there's only one, only community hub.
It's only just started that, or how long has this been going for? This,
This has been a while in the making,
Yeah.
but it's been live for a couple of months. I just
oh,
haven't had a
really?
chance
Okay.
to,
right.
yeah, get everyone involved in it. But yeah, community groups they've all got their own little pages again, so you can go in and find how you can get there and volunteer with them and things. So I did it by town for community groups, and then there was sporting clubs like as a separate thing. I know when I moved here about 6 years ago, it was impossible to find this information, like
We'll put
any
it on there.
groups to join
Yeah.
and things, so. I tried to fill it out as much as I know, but yeah, people will add to it hopefully.
Yeah.
As time goes on. And I've just put information on how they can find out more about joining the cricket club or whatever, not necessarily information on phone numbers and things like that, because it'll just go out of date.
I think we've found from ours, the only way we've successfully communicated with the majority of people is through a letterbox drop, post office box.
Yes.
The only way we see rates notices don't do it,
Mhm.
online doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, and as a not-for-profit, I think it gets out there probably for free.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting them printed, and I think it's about 800 odd or something, it will
Yeah.
go out, if you do it at one post office, they'll do it throughout the district for you.
Yeah, I don't know, for me, like as a business owner, it's really handy for me to just put as QR code to the eat places, because people, or send them a link, because people always ask me, oh, where should we go for dinner or whatever, and I just send them the link. Ideally a full business directory. This is definitely not a full business directory, but it's everything that so far I've got, and links to their websites and or Facebooks. where appropriate, you can filter by category. Definitely, obviously needs more things in it, but, and that's got like education and some of the things that I haven't done pages on yet about the schools and the community and things. And then, there was one of the ideas was the new residents page, which is where I've linked you back. I was starting on the new residents page and it was kind of just being a reflection on kind of some of the stuff that you guys already have on your website, and I didn't want to put stuff out that I wasn't going to be able to update regularly and things. So I'm still working on how I'm gonna do that.
I think Lamoureux Ford has
Easiest way.
produced a new resident handbook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd be
so
interesting to see whether they've got an electronic version of that you can
Well,
attach to it.
this is kind of where this came from as well, as PCI was looking at doing the same thing for Pinaroo, but it's very outdated now already, and they only did it, you know, a couple of years ago, last year, a couple of years ago. So this was the idea of trying to get it all online, is that eventually we'll have things like religion and services and things like that, healthcare and things, but I need to know more information
Yeah,
from
yeah.
people that go to church about the churches and the services
Yeah.
and things like that. Yeah, there's definitely more things to add, but it's a start, and I think it's quite a big start from
Yeah, yeah.
my perspective. I know it is already really hard to find on Google, even, yeah, if you've ever made a website, you would know how hard it is to get it up there on Google, but it'll all come from businesses finding out about it and backlinking on their websites, and us linking other reputable websites and things like that, and then people using it will eventually just get it up there, and pretty much that's it.
Just as a note, I found through ours, which was 3 weeks, there was a lot of background stuff that I hadn't done, and I got someone to help me with. And once I got the background stuff done, all of a sudden the searching just revolutionized the searching on Google. And it's because I didn't know enough about what I was ticking in the background.
And yeah, there's so much.
She
to
did.
it, just,
Next minute, oh, okay, now it's in. Yeah.
So eventually, it will get up there, and hopefully you'll be able to search food in Lamoureux, and it'll come up with this, and you'll be able to see the whole district and see things like that. There's obviously opportunities for growth. They could have job boards and community boards and things like that, but yeah, it just based on people using the website, and if it is actually handy at the end of it.
Very good.
Any
Thank you for that. Any questions there on top? Oh, that's your baby. Looks like you're gonna, that's it for you now. You're the Southern Mallee lady. All right, thanks, Caroline. Appreciate
worries.
it.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Righto, so,
Somebody made him divide.
no, I'm out of here. You made me do this. I don't like that. So, Merrill update. So you've got the list there. I think,
Oh, God.
I probably will make mention, the Chandos Terrace, verge, people driving across the verge has been really interesting. I met with a few of the people since and made comment that I'm seeing lots of new wheel tracks going straight across the same verge, and into driveways, which I found quite problematic, being that, you know, it's the people who are living in the houses driving across the verge, not visitors. So I'll just, put that comment out there, I guess. We received a letter back from the governor, thanking us for the visit and our time, or our time. And probably also make a bit of mention on the skilled refugee visa pilot round table in Murray Bridge that Mark and I went to. Was very interesting. It's a program that's been operating for over 4 years now, and I said that's interesting because it's the first time I've ever heard of it. And they had I don't know what it was, 500 applications were going to be accepted, and they weren't even halfway to that yet. Really good company, really good philosophy, which is that there's a pathway through a lot of the government red tape, even including permanent residency immediately. And this company's got like 180,000, 130,000 candidates on tap. But yeah, interesting that it still seems so hard to actually get it to work, because there is a path, but it's expensive still, because it costs, I think they said, around $30,000 to get the visa application working. So we fed back, if we could reduce that, then it might open it up to farmers a bit more. But it was certainly good to go there and hear it and see it. Yeah, so that's all. Also, I'll move that report to be put in, seconder. Chris, anyone want to ask anything about it? No, all those in favour, against, carried, thank you. 9.2 elected members reports. Have anybody had any? Chris? Campbell?
Nothing official, but there's been a few really good community events I've been to recently, like the Geranium Op Shop trivia night that raised a lot of money, and lawnmower racing, which is pretty good, and some of the sports teams been doing really good. The cricket team has both made the grand final in district against the Riverland, pretty impressive, so well done to the community.
Yeah, I was going to say about the handover of the school that's actually happened to the Geranium community on the 4th of Friday night. And yeah, we had a community meeting last night, so that's been good. Finally, it's taken well over 2 years to get it happening, and now it's happening. So just got to make it work.
Now the next is 12 months?
What's that?
Was it 12 months or 3 years?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Yeah, since we-
Yeah.
In train, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Oh, very good. Neville?
Yeah, Monday I had to box that wild dog committee meeting. Victorians haven't changed their idea about not killing off the dogs. We had a few problems south of Pinaroo here with the wild dogs already, so the tractors on it, so it's going to be an ongoing situation forever. At the meeting, I said the only way to stop us by putting a fence up, but that seems like it's going to be a no-goer, so we'll be poisoning the dogs for the next 30 years like we have in the last 30 years, so never ending. It's a bit of silly. When you get a state government that doesn't care about the sheep industry, that's what the case is.
Yeah, yeah, I've been making inquiries into Landscape SA as to why they haven't had a zero record for 4 years. 4 years ago, they would have was declining, and somehow this hasn't updated any records for that 4 years. And somebody's supposed to get back to me on what's going on.
With that, I mean, if you feel it's, if you're not getting traction, I think there's nothing wrong with us as a council, through the administration, sending a letter asking for an official response.
Yeah, well, I just probably fair to that is.
Yeah, let that run out first.
Contact me back and then
Yeah,
I'll.
yeah, I'm just saying if you need it,
Yeah.
come to the, bring it and
Yeah.
we'll just put it through the chamber so it's just a, like a, what's the name on notice to say that you want a letter drafted, and I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably just add as well, the MDA send out emails
Yeah, I do
Almost-
get email.
almost weekly about things that are happening, Murray Darling Association, but it is literally 100% about what's happening in the river and the allocation. And I've certainly said to them, until you include groundwater and us, there's no point in us responding to that. So
Every second day it averages out, there's an email that you
So
get.
Luke,
Really?
Luke's the delegate,
yes.
but I just thought I'd raise that because I'm the backup delegate, and yeah, we're not responding to anything, there's no point at the
Yeah.
moment.
I've had a couple of phone calls with them, but yeah, it goes nowhere, it's just, yeah, it's dry to bone down here, we don't have a river.
All right, so I don't think any of them are reports to move necessarily, I think we'll just take them as comments. So thank you very much. 10.1 minutes, the audit risk committee meeting, so it'll be over to you. CEO.
Yep, thank you. Audit Risk Committee last.
Cool. You'll do it, no way, cool.
Yes, we had an audit and risk committee last Wednesday. So the recommendation is before you, and following on from that, there's also some of the key issues that came through the risk committee. Meeting was about an hour and a half long, 2 hours, I think. I think it was, kept on going on, and so it's before you as a recommendation.
You gonna read out the recommendation?
I can read out the recommendation. So the council accepts the minutes of the audit and risk committee held on Wednesday, the 12th of March, as read and received. Adopts the proposed amendments to the audit and risk committee terms of reference as contained in attachment 2. Again, some minor changes there. And adopt their draft risk management policy and significant changes there, with the additional wording and allocating appropriate resourcing. And to adopt budget review 2.
Thank you very much. I do want to make a comment about it because obviously I'm on that committee. There was one thing that ended up in the policy and I voted for in the end, but I raised concern, and that was that one of the changes was there were changes made to it in line with LGA's generic model, if you like. And one of those things, it took a line, it crossed out a line that said the elected member body was basically responsible for oversight of the policy. And it turned it into about, I don't know, about a dozen lines of very specific things. And I raised the point there that I thought some of the things were well beyond the remit of the elected member body to oversee, and we weren't there to develop the policy, we were simply there to oversee it. So I did raise that concern. It's only a 3-person voting body, the CEO is there as an attendee, so if one doesn't vote, you're kind of, you're a bit hamstrung. So being that it came from an LGA generic policy, I accepted it only along the lines that it's really not going to make any difference because we're going to get held to account anyway. It's just that now it sort of stipulates a bit more, and it's really designed around big councils in town where there's a lot more involvement. People are full-time professional, so it's page 4 of 8 on 41 of our real stuff. So it crossed out a line which is council is responsible for the approval of this policy and overseeing the systematic approach to managing risk across council operations. And in place of that, it said setting the organisational risk appetite and policy for managing risk, giving adequate consideration to risk when setting objectives and making decisions, fostering a culture that is consistent with the organisation's appetite for risk, ensuring the organisation has the structures and processes in place to support decision-making and management of risk, setting an appropriate governance structure for risk and risk management, including audit and risk committee and delegations, requiring the CEO to demonstrate that the framework for managing risk is effective and appropriate, requiring the CEO to provide information to allow council to understand the risks that may have material impacts on the achievement of the organisational objectives, and consider recommendations from the Audit Risk Committee relating to strategic, financial and operational risks or any other risk matter. And I read that and went, I'm not a CEO, I'm a councillor, but yeah. So anyway, I just bring it to your attention. I did vote for it to go through because I understood it's not going to make a gnat's difference, but I just thought it was pretty stupid that level of detail being put on us as elected members for the little bit of time you get to spend on it. They're tied both ways.
Yeah.
We're buggered if we don't, we're buggered if we do. So there you go. So I make that as a note. So with that as a note, do I have a mover for accepting that? Luke, do I have a seconder? Chris, does anyone else want to speak to that, please?
Yeah, this is on the page here, page 25. Identified new emerging and updated strategic risks in the meeting. Touched a bit on what I'm thinking. The line that says new director in infrastructure services and their accommodation. I think it's a pretty big risk that we don't have any employee accommodation here and there's nothing locally available. Like we've got a couple vacancies already. I think maybe there's a couple more that might have come through. And a lot of the time there isn't the local skill available. And if we don't have local accommodation to provide the workers, we're pretty hamstrung what we can do with that thing. So I think it's a risk that the committee should probably be looking at.
Was there anything found out about those vacant houses that were up here? The education and the health houses, I did speak to, was it Nick Champion?
Yeah. Wayne Champion.
Wayne Champion. I'm still waiting for a call back. I'm not giving another call. I think it's
That's the health one.
yeah, it's the health. The education ones I haven't followed through on. So yeah. My recollection from some discussions I've had is that the other agencies, given that the state government would be very tentative about moving their housing. They probably want to hang on to it like we would if it's ours.
There's a schoolhouse for sale in Geranium at the moment, 180,000.
Well, you could probably reduce that, couldn't we? Most rates.
Good.
Right, thanks Campbell. Anything else?
No, that's all.
No? Anything else from that? No? All those in favour? Against? Barry, thank you. Page 63,
That's where you go.
review of basis of rating.
Well, over the past, I guess it's been 6 months, and certainly the last 2 or 3 I've been here, we've been enmeshed with the changes and the review of the rating process. I don't want to go through this lockstep. We've had 2 significant workshops plus a public hearing where the Corinne from UHY, Haynes Norton, also did another presentation that was almost an hour long. There was a number of people there, obviously from the community, who expressed their views on this. And it's now up to the council to consider whether we adopt the rating review document as attached from Corinne from UHY. Given the amount of time that we've worked this through with the council, the recommendation is pretty straightforward and in front of you. So that's all I have to say. I think you've been enmeshed in this for a long time, so I'll pass over to the mayor.
I'd like to, with leave of the chamber suspending standing procedures, so we can just have a quick chat about it rather than go on the table and blah, blah, blah. That way we're going to have a two-way chat. Do I have to speak to that? Yeah, 6%, thank you.
And how long for?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Good enough. But we'll never stick to it.
No.
Thank you for that. So yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I think we've been through it. We've had the feedback, we've had some written feedback. It's clear there was some misunderstanding. I've also taken some phone calls, and the phone calls were a bit like the other feedback, with a misunderstanding about what the purpose of it was, which was to reset the structure and equity of the rating policy. Some people thought it was actually increasing their rates, which one of those is answered in here to show the constituent. I've got one concern with it and one concern only, and that is that following the process and finding out that we are not able to have other entities or other intensive operations under industry other, I am concerned that our industry other set at 130% is literally going to apply to one company. And yet we have other companies who are also doing intensive activities, but they're going to be rated as a primary producer at 100%. And this one entity will have all their other properties at 100%, but obviously we'll have that one property because it's the only one that's got an industrial other category will be at 130. So I just wanted to voice my concern with that, because it would be very easy to say, well, are you directing that at the company or the activity? And if it's the activity, we can't put it out to other activities. And so I'm talking about feedlots and piggeries and all sorts of things. So I find that problematic, that it's just hitting one company and that's land use, and the others will never be anything other than primary producers, because you won't be separating that piece off of their land use. So that's my only concern. So I've crossed it out here and written 100% for myself, just because it would make it even, and it would leave the bulk handling at 400, which was the intention of the project in the beginning. So yeah, that's mine. So I think if we just talk it around, which we've got two-way banter now, and then we can come back into the meeting and make a decision. So anyone else, Chris?
Yeah, industrial others only going to affect one operation, then it's an unfair percentage to be putting on that one. So the other fertiliser plant here doesn't come under industrial other.
No, nobody else does. There's
Nobody
only
else
one.
does, it's only the one.
Once it was evident there's only one, that was my concern, is that you're singling out one company to pay a different rate in the dollar than all the other enterprises. And that seemed problematic to me, or unfair. I can't defend it. If it was me, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah,
He's French.
leaving that at 100, I read like there's a number of feedback in there that people think we should be charging a hell of a lot more on vacant land than 130. But if we were to go and change those rates, do we have to go back out to public consultation?
It would be public consultation through the annual business plan and budget,
Yeah.
which we have to do anyway. So we put the next round of consultation in the budget, which goes out for I think a month's consultation in any event. So,
Yeah.
and the changes are relative, the changes will be made, of course, but it will go out in that format rather than going back out for a specific rate.
Right, yeah, well, I'll be changing that industry other back to 100, and I am not opposed at all to raising vacant land to 200%.
Yeah.
Or more.
I put down 200. That was my thought. 200 vacant land.
And, oh, sorry,
How many vacant lands does this affect? Or what?
not many.
Yeah.
The problem is most of them are contiguous, contiguous.
Cause 48 that are contiguous,
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to think of, what it is.
142.
So it'd be
There's still 100.
Okay, all right, that's still here.
I'm not 100% sure, but maybe it doesn't affect a lot of them to the minimum rate level. I can't
Correct,
quite
yeah, the
remember.
minimum rate, I can't remember what the minimum rate is now, it's probably in the document. But the vacant land, because it's obviously reasonably low value.
Yeah, I think
It was, most of them would be caught under the minimum.
I think it was doing stuff all,
Or it make no difference.
which is annoying because it means we can't do what we wanted to do.
Yeah, well, as she's put out in her report, there are certainly land banking issues up here, but can't act. Your fourth candidate?
No, yeah, the vacant land, I think that's a good thing if we can encourage people to move on land they're not moving, they're not using. The development is a really good idea, whether it's actually effective. I'm not sure. If it is effective and no one does move on their land, we're gonna have vacant land, people paying more rate percentage than other people. Are we gonna earmark that money for use in developing new land or things like that, or is it just going back into the general pot? It kind of seems like we're charging people who are owning land more just holding land, which doesn't really make sense to me.
Should be using it, maybe.
Yeah, they should be using it, but if they, yeah. That was just the thought. I think, yeah, if we're gonna be charging them a lot more, that should be earmarked, providing more of that for other people.
Yeah.
And if it does do the job of getting rid of a lot of our vacant land, then I think we've got to win. The employment bulk handling thing, that's something we talked about a lot, and I think we're all the same opinion that, yeah, the silos and stuff were using up a lot more of the road resources, but then after talking to a lot of people and some of this feedback we had in that last meeting, they made some really good points, like when the grain's coming off the farm, going straight to the highway, straight to a silo, whether the silo is here or in Murray Bridge or Taylor Bend or Loxton or wherever you go, like the silos themselves aren't actually causing that much more use on our roads, like maybe a little bit through the back roads if that's quite local. And I think it's really good having these businesses here, because the local guys around here, if they didn't have these businesses here, they'd have to have on-farm storage, they'd pay a lot higher transport costs. And we've seen a lot of silos that are like shut down these days. So these companies are having trouble every year employing staff because there's no accommodation here. So if we're whacking up their rates and they're looking at closing silos and they're having struggles employing staff here, it kind of seems like maybe we're going to encourage them to eventually, it's not going to happen instantly, but maybe think about closing our things down. Whereas I think it might be better to keep it at 100% the same as everyone else and instead encourage business here. Like, let's be the ones that stay open long term, not the ones that maybe give them a reason to shut down. So yeah, that's what I thought with that. I don't think they're actually contributing that much more to the road consumption. And yeah, I think we're kind of penalising them a bit for something that's probably pretty good for our farmers. Yeah.
Yeah, I was probably backing up. It's only picking one person out, although I think that's unfair. So that's my brain, I think. I think I'm happy with everything else.
Yeah, we know there's 100 other industries. I think they create a fair bit of work in district and a lot of stuff. So a bit hard hitting like that. I think the vacant land would be better to bump it up, but the silos, the Campbell made a good point there because it's only going to come back to the rural people again, to the farmers who use it to come, they'll be the ones that cop up the money. But at the present time, one of our councils, one of a few in the state who aren't charging that rate. So I think we stick to the whole lifting up to what every other council's paying for that. So otherwise we're the odd ones out. So I know it's going to hit the farmers again, because other ones will just get told to pay it up, and we're probably subsidising all other councils who are getting the whole rate, and we're not getting it. So I think we'll leave that as it is.
The other councils are losing their silos.
Yeah, well, we haven't got many solar left here either. Well, we've got a few, but
We could be the ones that stay open.
I want to keep
Oh,
as much grain
I don't think it makes a
here as
difference.
possible.
Yeah.
Goes across the.
now with
board.
feedlot,
It's enough to do it.
feedlot Tinanara, a lot of farmers are going straight to the feedlot nowadays and to Murray Bridge, like, I know that's where our grain goes. We don't, not too much goes to silo anymore now. It's all going to the direct feedlotters and the Binghams and that.
That's because your farm's closer to that site, but I'm talking about the farmers that are probably closer here.
Mm.
Like if they don't have that site
Oh, yeah.
option,
They won't show it.
But realistically, the only
Right.
silo that's on, not on our roads is the one out here on the highway.
Mm.
The other one is in town, is on our roads and in Lameroo, it's all on our roads.
Yeah.
Um,
The worst part is we have local farmers carting with their trucks to the local silo, but nowadays you can't get even a semi to cart your grain. You've got to have big doubles or no one to cart your grain. So it's all so it's all heavy traffic on your roads anyway. So
Yeah.
so just when you've got a lot of grain coming off, you've got to get rid of it somewhere. So it's got to go to the silo. That's all.
So yeah, from what I've heard, that the grain silos, it's been opposite. I know there's talk of another grain site coming here to fetch the eastern states with the grain. Because yeah, most of our stuff all goes down to Adelaide at the moment, so they're looking at going the other way with it, so. So I'm happy to charge what we charge. I think vacant land should go up a bit, and I think the industrial other should be back down to 100.
Yeah, I think we just found out that we can't actually direct their rating to the people that we want.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah, it proved that the feedback was right. We couldn't separate things out enough to make it
We're
work.
just in the wrong state. If we were in any other state in Australia, we could pick them out, but we
Right.
can't.
So if I take from that, that the general feeling is that we bring the industrial other back to 100%. We increase vacant land to, I heard 200%. Is that what people?
It won't make any difference. or-
Well, I'm hearing it's not going to make much difference, but I mean, if it's not going to make much difference, then it doesn't matter if we do it.
if we are raising extra money, what are we spending that money on? If they're paying a higher proportion,
Everyone else pays
Running
less.
council.
Yeah,
It's still under the
we just
minimum.
everyone else pays less.
That's our rates to run direct costs in council.
Yeah,
very fair to me.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like, it's a reserve, your ideal is to get that vacant land active,
Mm.
but we're only taking it as a revenue where we're not using it for promotion or doing the curve.
You know, we're not
Doing anything.
making these bits of land better, like they're not getting any benefit out of it.
Well, apart from maintaining the services that run past the vacant land, I mean, that's the idea of the minimum rate, I guess, is to.
I think the purpose of us wanting to raise it is that we use this land, because people are saying, we want more housing, we want more vacant land. So the point of this is to free up more land. If it doesn't work and we're just making these people pay more money, kind of makes logical sense that maybe we should be using that extra money we're raising, maybe make some more vacant land that people can develop.
How much are we talking
I
about?
was about to say-
I don't know, well, we need to know how much
I
we're
don't think
actually
it's gonna be a
raising.
lot.
What would 100 houses actually raise? Extra money? Not much.
Not a great deal. By the
Thousands,
time
not hundreds of
contiguous
thousands.
land, they
Very
talk
small
$50,000.
amounts.
If it's 30% on the minimum rate, which is $700, so $210 on the 100. What's that, 20 grand a year?
Oh, so you're upping the minimum rate, is that what you're saying?
No,
Well, I'm not 100% sure how it works. We need an actual number, but I think,
You have to work the numbers out. I don't think it's going to be a tremendous amount of money coming in.
Because it won't change our rate pool,
No.
because the rate pool will work backwards into this as we.
I know, but you're charging people who don't have needs for these other things, I guess.
Hang on, you said ages ago that you wanted the rates on vacant land to go up.
No, I think it is. I think it is. I think we definitely should. I think it's a good thing. But I think if it doesn't, because we want the effect of increasing this land up for further development, don't we?
yeah,
That's the point of this.
yeah.
I think everyone's
Yeah,
agreeing
people
with
sell
that.
their block. Yeah.
So if it doesn't work and everyone just holds onto their blocks,
Yeah, we might as well up the minimum rate.
why are we charging them so much more?
You're not.
Because we're not getting our desired
Well,
outcome.
well, I think we're prejudging the outcome. I mean, let's
Let's
put it in
Yeah.
place and see what happens.
More
And if it hasn't changed in
intelligent
12 months, then
You can
No,
readjust.
I just want to say that the reason I think it's a good idea is that it's gonna increase more land available in our townships.
Mm.
And if it doesn't have that effect, I think we should use this extra money raised
Yeah.
to that effect.
we can see what happens, I suppose.
Right,
That's just something I think it's good, we should be raising, yeah.
so 100% industry, other 200% vacant land, leave the 400 bulk handling.
We're going out of thing again, like suspension.
So now we're going to come back out. I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah,
before we came back
Yep,
out.
yep, yep.
So I don't, do I need to come back out or just come back out? So just
Come back out.
Righto, we're back out. Thanks Sharon. Thanks for the 5 minutes. Appreciate you giving us that time. Recommendation, council resolves to receive note contents of the report, change the rating system from being based on locality to being predominantly based on land use and create an additional rating category based on combination of locality and land use, being the zone of bulk employment, employment bulk handling with land use of commercial other. To adopt the rate in the dollar differential for each land use being, as we just said, so 100% residential, 100% commercial shop, 100% office, 100% light, 100% other, primary production 100%, vacant land 200%, other 100%, employment bulk handling 400%. I have a move for that. Chris, second, Luke. All those in favour? Against? No, thank you.
No.
That was a bit vague, I just wanted to.
Yeah, no, I think
Yep.
you moved it quick. Page
All good.
79, 11.2 revocation of employee conduct policy. I assume you're now between that.
I am.
Well done. Can you speak with a higher pitch, please? Well, actually, probably not.
Probably not. No. This is a bit long-winded, so my apologies for this.
We can take it as received as no.
Yeah. Like it's been. There was a report at this time last year that explained it all to you back in July last year that Lachlan penned. It basically changes the Local Government Act, the old employee conduct policy, no longer required. It's not within the Local Government Act anymore. So therefore, the policy which you currently have is really obsolete because it's not in the Act anymore. So you don't need to have one, and you shouldn't have one. And in its place is what I would call a procedure or an employee policy as opposed to a council policy, which is a foreign policy. So all you have to do is accept this and also then revoke that current policy, the employee conduct policy. So it's very, very convoluted. My apologies for that, but the changes in the Local Government Act over the past 12 years have ebbed and swayed. You know, you've got to have a conduct policy, then you don't have to have a conduct policy, or it's it's voluntary that you have one. So this is now the next iteration of the Local Government Act.
So this is, trust me, I'm from local government, I'm here to help.
Read the Local Government Act if you really want a good night's sleep.
Righto, so recommendation that council receives and notes the contents of this report and 2, revokes the employee conduct policy. I'll move it for that. Neville, seconded. Trevor, anyone want to speak to that? Never's read. All those in favour?
Not very long.
Against, carried, thank you.
86.
And the vote is 86, yep. 11.3 annual dog fee review. Hello, White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is our annual dog fee review that you'll be aware of that you get every year. It's basically around our impounding and registration fee structure. We need to do this slightly earlier than their budget so that we can get the information to the Dog and Cat Management Board so that the fees go out on time and the license structures are worked out so they can do all their testing and stuff. So I won't go through the entire report, but we did benchmark our fees and charges against other councils of similar sizes across South Australia. They end up pretty much in the middle, as you probably would have been with the attachment. So the recommendation is as follows, that the council receives and notes the contents of the report. And number 2, approves the dog impounding and registration fees for the upcoming 25-26 financial year as listed below, and I won't go through them all. If you don't mind.
Well, I was about to say, the way you said that, you were damn near going to go through them all.
Well, I can if you really want me to, but I think it's all.
That's
you can
all right.
I think we're happy to take it as read. Move it for that.
I think the late fee should be 0.
Hey, late fee.
Fee for late registration,
Well,
because you want to encourage people to, if somebody mishaps, whatever, you want them to get it registered.
Sort of just show every comment.
Yeah, I'm just figuring out procedurally whether we're right just to talk about it or.
Sorry, yes.
Because we're not anywhere yet. No, go for it.
The fees to facilitate our officers actually doing other actions, because if they're late, by that stage, we've probably started actions around sending them late notices or infraction fees. So yeah, so $20 is basically charging for our time.
Yeah, I'm on no man's land now. I don't know whether to say anything or do anything, so.
Yeah, I'll move to
So,
a few things.
because then I'll have something to say afterwards. Second,
Lee?
anyone else want to say anything?
no, just ask you, so you think the late fee is encouraging people not to register their dogs at all?
No, just if for some reason if somebody's, I mean, it depends, I guess it's late fee, whether it's 6 months late or within a smaller range.
No, I'm all good with it.
Yeah,
And I'd probably just say, look, there's lots of fees I've got to do, and none of them I get let off for it being late. I get penalised on every single goddamn one of them. And generally a hell of a lot more than that, because I don't think that's covering time. That's not even going close. If it is our wages report wrong. So I think it's a very light fee, to be honest. So, cool.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Got mover and seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 11.4, Pinaroo Aerodrome ground lease. Tyler.
Thank you, Smith. So the purpose of this report is to provide council with direction regarding granting a lease for a portion of land at the Pinaroo Aerodrome for the purpose of building a hangar from a private citizen. You're aware that we own the Pinaroo Aerodrome, and we have to work in accordance to the acts and stuff. The identified land falls outside of the space. It works quite well with where Royden wants to put his hangar for his plane. The lease, we basically went to a third party to get a monetary amount that could be benchmarked against other similar sized aerodromes and similar sized facilities around Australia. That's the number they came back with. So the recommendations are as follows. The council receives and notes the report on the proposed ground lease to Royden John Bailey for the section of Pinaroo Aerodrome for the purpose of building a hangar. The council approves the lease for 20 years with a 20-year renewal to Royden John Bailey for the section, and authorise the chief executive officer to make any formatting or other minor changes to the lease prior to signing. Yeah. Didn't like that N word.
Yeah, went away with Lachlan.
Yeah.
Go over move all that. Yeah. Campbell, seconder. And Luke, does anyone have anything they want to ask on that?
What's the sinking fund?
Sinking fund.
Sinking fund is when things go wrong.
Yeah.
So there's money in there as contingency for issues.
It's a bit like a shoebox.
Yeah.
With money ready for the next problem.
Next one, it's in the lease agreement.
Down at the marina, we had a sinking fund.
yeah,
Sorry,
it's
yeah.
literally thinking going to the boat.
I was looking
Yeah.
at my report, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta remember. So, sorry.
Like, seeing the lease there that, no alcohol and excellent on the premises. Be the first hangar I know, it doesn't have a beer fridge in
He agreed to the
first
terms,
lease
so.
that followed 100%.
it.
He's agreed to it.
He's had a draft of this, we've negotiated all the terms that he wanted to negotiate, so.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't mean to speak.
It's all pretty one-sided to me, but yeah, it's good.
Then,
No, I think this was great. I think we should be encouraging more of this kind of thing.
Well, any more fit?
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
point? If
all
somebody
the way
else-
along.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, approximately another 5 would fit in the same area.
Definitely will be alcohol there then. David,
No, yeah, that's fine.
Neville?
Yeah, I just hopefully, that's locked up so no one else will get in there anytime, or how's it?
It'll be up to him.
The hangar?
Yeah,
No,
and the whole air thing,
airstrip.
airstrip, is that, or?
No,
No,
Right, so he can lock his hangar, keep that, yeah, like, yeah, I'll go up and guess it's up there.
It's still late now, mate.
Hey? I'm just wondering. What do you want? No, I just think that some guys fly to the plane with S, you put a beer, well, they wouldn't be able to bring it in there, would they? To chuck it out before they get there.
can't consume it. Doesn't mean you don't have it. Anyway, Luke, any sensible questions?
No, mate, no.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but it's good to see a bit of progress in that direction.
And obviously people will note that being it's in here, it was also released with confidence. I'm sure you saw that through the thing, so it's in the public domain, which is also good.
The lease is the lease is in the public.
I wouldn't have, well, the leases in here, so it's-
The agenda.
No, they haven't seen it.
I know now.
Yeah.
You're on here.
It's public, yeah. Oh,
It'll be in the agenda. You can read it.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's all right.
all those in favour?
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. 121, memorandum of understanding in the Geranium Communities Hub.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report hopefully is self-explanatory. A couple of years ago, there was 4 MOUs put up to council at one go, and they're listed there in the background. Lions of Lameroo, Pinaroo Ag Society and Geranium Community Hub. The first 3 received, they're all for 3 years. The first 3 community groups received funding for 3 years. The Geranium Community Hub received funding for only 1 year as stipulated in the MOU. I don't think necessarily that was fully understood by the Geranium Community Hub. They've now come back to council and said, where's our funding for next year? Now, it's up to council to then consider whether or not the Geranium Community Hub will receive funding for years 2 and 3 of their MOU. At a figure of $4,500 per annum for the next 2 years. Initially, they were going to, and nice to hear that finally the deal's been done with the education department. Things move slow, but the first amount of $4,500 was to support the community hub in managing the aquatics facility there, which they had provided a report as well. On the last year, noting the heavy use of the pools, the swim clubs and the morning swims and whatever else. So it's now before council to make a call. There was money, as I mentioned in my report, there was money in the budget for this current year 4-5 and allocation for 5-6 as well. So it's now over to the mayor.
I think I'll just, because it was when Neville and I were here on our own, so I'll just qualify that a little bit. They've put trips away. There's no trip noise on the phone, only ducks. So just to clarify that, it actually the money went to the community hub for general community support activities, and part of that was insurances and all kinds of things. The reason it was only put in for 1 year by Neville and I at the time was because the school closure committee process was just beginning. And it was to see what the outcome of that was going to be, because in part of that, there was also a grant that was given for the library service down to Geranium. So there was 2 amounts of money that was going down there. The library one ceased in that next year. So last year we didn't pay that. And it was always meant to come back for us to reassess once we knew what was happening. But back then we didn't have the, whatever the thing's called that keeps it running on the thing. So it just disappeared off the edge. So it wasn't specifically to do with the pool, it was actually a community funding. So as an example, when Rosemary Harrod contacted me about council support for community newsletter, printing and so on, I referred her back to the community hub because they got the funding from council to distribute to their community groups.
The bowling club and all that.
That's right, everybody. So that's what the funding was for. So they were using it to pay insurance on stuff. They probably were using it towards the pool. They were using it for other community things as well. So that's the point of it. So it's not dissimilar to what happens up here with Pinaroo Project or the Lions clubs and so on. So I just want to clarify that because it wasn't specifically for running the pool. So it was meant to be back in there. The MOU was for 3 years, but we approved funding for 1 year only, waiting for the outcome of that school closure committee, which obviously the school be closed. So I'll just clarify that. And in that case, I'll look for a mover of that, please, excluding David on. Campbell, a seconder. Trevor, does anyone else want to speak to that?
We have got a report back from the Geranium I mean, on that.
Yes, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And I have it right in front of me. On 30th of March, we asked for it. It hadn't been submitted. But it's a very nice letter outlining all the activities that they've been involved with, families and the pool and exercise classes and gyms and whatever else. So it's, that's not out to councils yet, because we only just received it.
Are they charging money for that?
Yes, for the, yep, yep. But yeah, there's a gym, there's a yoga, there's swimming pool, which is used twice a week. With, you know, now in this, likely Mondays and Wednesdays, and they get 30, 40 kids there on a night. So yeah, swimming pool training, and there's also aqua aerobics gets down there on a Monday night. So yeah, it gets pretty well used. And we're having to pay for all our own chemicals and stuff like that. So it is used for the pool use as well. And also we have to pay the insurance. So yeah, so we've been doing all of that. And it's been happening anyway, like we've been paying it all. So just that it didn't, the memorandum from the council didn't come through, that's all. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess, and I'm mindful we're outside of the way this is all meant to work, back to a to and from, but
Yeah.
the reality was, the commitment was made at the time that the MOU would stand for the community. But the council wasn't looking to take on a third swimming pool. It had already spent money on 2 swimming pools. They were the community swimming pools. So what the community used the funding for was up to them. It was a community grant. It had happened well before the pool issue, and they were using it for other things. And I think at times it was ensuring the gym, which was happening in the school
Public
grounds, so they were doing public liability and all that sort of stuff. So I just want to, it may now be going predominantly towards the pool, but it was for all those other activities.
So insurance, yeah.
Because
Insurance will chew all that up.
the library was shut down too, and they was don't know what was going to do with that, but some of that could have went towards helping people get
Yeah, well,
about that too.
it could have, because that was 15, was that 15,000?
17,000.
That was the
Yeah.
staff
Yeah.
running the library.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
that
if
was,
the library started up again,
okay,
No,
if it could.
okay.
Mayor, so technically we've already paid one of those.
yes, we have.
First one, yeah.
Yes. So one has been paid, and this was about funding the balance of the 2, and then it will come back in as an MOU for renewal in the future. So we've moved and seconded, all those in favour? Against? My David was against.
No,
Thank you very much.
not again.
No, you got to vote or not.
I thought about
No, he stayed out of it, it wasn't presented.
Yeah, that's all right. Just,
11.6, page 125, council policy for periodical review, get the pins out and put in your eyes.
Yep.
It's Mark McLean, CEO.
This is me or the policy. I was trying to do the incoming CEO the favour by getting these off the desk. So there are 6 policies that are ongoing with very minor changes, and the policies that are ongoing is the policy framework, volunteers, electronic communication, flag usage policy, media and communication policy, and the privacy policy. And the changes are very minor, as you can see. There's 2 copies of each one. One's the marked up copy, and one's a clean skin. So the intent, the non-material changes. So hopefully there's no issues with those, but they're all due or overdue for review. Hence, I thought I'd put them up and get them out of the way prior to Justin starting. Jason, sorry. The only change here is a suggestion about the community grants. I took the opportunity to have a chat with the mayor about this. The MOUs we've just been discussing, and the way forward of that is that you've got about 8 or 9 MOUs with a whole range of community groups, which really take the place of the ad hoc community grants. And as has already been the case tonight when the mayor was speaking, that community groups can go to those organisations who have an MOU and seek a small amount of money, whether it's $500 for some printing or $500 for a or whatever for a function, community activity. So reading through the community grants policy and the fact that there's been no money for community grants in any effect, and if there was, you could always do a small MOU if you needed to, or as I said, redirect people through to those organisations that have an MOU. So my recommendation is that the council removes the community grants policy from the council's suite of policies. And the other ones are basically as read with those minor changes.
Thank you very much. So we'll take those as read, but obviously people have an opportunity to ask a question in a sec, so do I have a move, please? Luke, second, Chris, any questions from anybody?
Yeah, I think one of those dates you can get right, like they adopted and they completed for the council policy framework. So I can listen to that. That's all.
Get a page number for that.
On mine, it's 117, I think. Oh, is it
128.
128,
117, 193?
Pages are different than these.
Yeah, that's different.
It's a council policy framework one, that way.
Framework.
Yeah.
They adopted May 2020.
Yeah.
Next review date 2023.
Oh,
I just need to update the date.
Oh,
Yes, that date should be 20.
Yeah, it should have been crossed out or whatever.
Should have been crossed, that should have been 20.
Follow you.
Read it pretty thoroughly.
It's not like you to actually read the agenda.
Thank you for your observation. I appreciate that.
I think that stands you in good stead there, David.
That was just a typo, wasn't it?
So that's noted, you've got that, yeah, all those in favour. Pretty comment all related. 11.7, page 193, resolution status report.
Standard report, we have one every month, in terms of the status of the current resolutions, reactions and outstanding matters. So I'm happy to take any questions and supported by my colleagues in the far corner. The far corner.
Right. Yeah, there's only really one that came off of there, which is completed on the fence, so, I'll move it for that. Campbell, seconder, Luke, I've got any questions you want to ask? Moving through quite fast, no, you're all good,
Going through.
No, read it.
all those in favour? Against? Carried, thank you.
They're all good.
I always look at Trevor, I don't worry, I'm always looking for that hand to come up. Questions on notice? Don't have any motions on notice, we don't have any questions without notice,
No, I said earlier, I think.
right? Motions without notice? Well, that's an easy one, confidential items, we don't have any, meeting closed at 7:40, thank you.
What's my answer?
I got tennis training. The lights are on.
Yeah.
Thank you for your meetings.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Everything you've done.
Thanks, Chris. It's been good.